Hello there, viewers and gamers alike out there, and welcome back for more of Arkham Twin Days of the Spidey lore of Spider-Man Edge of Time. So, more of the story and info. So, the previous episode was number 4, and I'm guessing this will be number 5 or the ending. Okay, so it's alright. It's gonna be all over, I'm pretty sure. So, why don't we go continue of the story and info in progress. Miguel's apartment is situated in the Babylon Towers. Clue for you. So, now that Peter Parker, his younger self, knows who the CEO is, because he's barely holding himself together, and because he finds the CEO's off room and the CEO's room, not the office, is a museum collection of how he fought the bad guys, how he stopped them, and not to mention he has the old Spider-Man suit that he's been wearing the whole time. And the armors and everything. His lost loved ones. Ben and May Parker. Gwen Stacy and Captain Stacy. Gwen's dad. And not to mention the love of his life, Mary Jane Watson. Because bad guys want to destroy a superhero's life by trying to eradicate them and not saving people so they can become more like them or give in to blackmail, but instead they're gonna make it worse because that is a stupid way for a villain to try to do that. It's a very stupid, idiotic way. Who's the imbecile of the supervillain they become? Instead, not taking the blame, they try to fight off with others of their own injustice. So, now that Peter Parker is trying to, he's barely holding himself together. So he has to make sure that he's go back in time and fix things first completely. And so for that, he's going to go back in the time. But of course, he's going to run into Felicia Hardy once again. Not the original, but the clone. Completely the clone, if you want to know. So yeah, the clone. That's the CEO for what he looks like back then. Of course, how he aged is just very creepy. And guess how? Fought several times with not the original Hardy, Felicia Hardy, but the clone. Of course, Felicia finally lost to the younger version of Peter Parker, not the CEO. Of course, how she disappeared, I will never know of what happened because he wanted to get the pass key. And because Peter Parker told Miguel O'Hara, said, slight setback. And Miguel O'Hara says, what's the problem? He says, my ex wants to play cat and mouse. And Miguel says, this is no time to play games. Well, and Peter Parker says, well, it's not my fault that she has the pass key. I have to go get it from her. And it's not going to be easy. And Miguel O'Hara says, well, do what you have to do, but we need to get to the 66th floor. Miguel, please. It's just women wanted to have fun, including supervillains who are females. She's more than an anti-hero, so Black Cat became the supervillain because of her hatred of Peter Parker, because of what he is as the future CEO. And so for that, Peter Parker defeated the clone of Black Cat, which is not the original Felicia Hardy, for one last and final time. And Felicia disappears all of a sudden, and she was never seen again. Of course, Felicia Hardy loves Spider-Man and Peter Parker because not the original, which is the clone, loves him more than the original did. Way more than the original did. And now Peter Parker is going to get back to the portal and the gate, and now finally both Miguel and Peter Parker are finally at the time gate. And now they said 1, 2, 3, and both ran towards the same time, and out goes the other, finally returning back to their own time periods. But it's not over. And now this giant, big-sized tentacle thingy just came out of Peter Parker's time and not Miguel's time. And now things are going to say the big giant white spidey tentacle thing is too long of a. I don't know what this atrocity is, but you know what? That's what I'm going to call it, atrocity, and it's coming right at my door. Miguel says, Peter, focus. What? Just try to do something. Okay, atrocity. Atrocity is just a perfect name. And so, yeah, atrocity. The atrocity was never supposed to exist. A freak of happenstance in every sense of the word. The creature that Spider-Man dubbed the atrocity resulted from the violent fusing of Walker Sloan, Otto Octavius, and Antivenom. Locked in combat, Sloan, Octavius, and Antivenom were shoved through a malfunctioning time portal and subjected to unimaginable temporal forces. Their combined DNA effectively subjected itself to millions of years of evolution in an insanely short relative period of time, which did not exist, because an atrocity this kind, it's something that's made up. It's not real. It's a made up from something in the comics that whoever invented it says, okay, we'll put it in. But it's a monster, but that does not absolutely exist and bearing no relevance whatsoever, because now this kind of happens, which did not result in millions of years. So it's kind of like resulted in minutes and not millions. So why did the story developer wouldn't say this resulted in matter of minutes by combining to a smoothie? Instead, he put that in and then just, okay, we walked into that one. Why not put it in a short few minutes? That would work. This worked, but this kind of story, no. I mean, the combined DNA effectively subjected. I know what blood transfusion is, but that kind about I'm putting into that, which does not work. No, it doesn't work. Of course, fusing. Okay, you've heard of fusion. Of course, you have to have a homogeneous mixture. Like, I got it. A homogeneous mixture. Like milk. Or Kool-Aid. Yeah, Kool-Aid. Kool-Aid is a perfect example. So, the result was the atrocity, a beast with no current through save for one. The somehow Spider-Man was responsible for its creation, and the wall crawler must be made to pay. The atrocity's tentacles punch through the very fabric of time and space and utilizes that ability to seek out any and all normal creatures with the intention of absorbing their raw matter into its own makeup. Ultimately, though, the atrocity's goal is to grab and absorb Spider-Man, any Spider-Man, in order to achieve a measure of vengeance against the individual it holds responsible for its creation. 10,000 pounds. No dual identity, existence unknown to general public. None whatsoever. First appearance, this game only. That's it. So the atrocity is going after Peter Parker, the amazing Spider-Man, not the CEO. And so Miguel O'Hara has to find a way to stop this or find any results of back in the lab. Of course, Peter Parker has to find a way to get the atrocity out of the building, out of the Alchemax building. Or thing is, oh great, this thing teleports! It's like, what? You mean it just, what do you mean? Like what? It goes into a different dimensional portals of outside? It's like, teleport! Read a dictionary! Like, come on! 2099, you have heard the words teleport or beam me up, Scotty, you're from Star Trek! Come on! Teleport! Read a dictionary! Or write a book! Yeah, like, write a book! Got it. Okay. Oh boy, can't you just read a book? Read a book. Alright, so, where were we? Oh yes, the atrocity thing. So, on the run, so Miguel O'Hara has to go into the experiments lab, or these genetic code boxes, and try to download the specific type of DNA. Or cooking up some experiment, analyzing samples of the DNA. In other words, he has to make sure it reaches 100%, and that way he needs to connect the DNA strands of the atrocity. So Peter Parker somehow was able to see the atrocity, but if the atrocity breaks through the window, yeah, of course Miguel O'Hara has to go into a dimensional warp hole point that teleports him to another area location of the Alchemax building. So he did that, and then he goes into the goes to the test analysis subject of area, you know, where he put these data boxes, getting it analyzed 100%, and now it needs 3 samples of the atrocity, and that's where Peter Parker puts it in his timeline. Yeah, now he's going to the air ducts, and yeah, would have clean air ducts, but it seems Alchemax is not very good at cleaning the air out the inside out, I suppose. So Peter Parker was able, even though he was kind of grabbed by the atrocity, however, he had somehow managed to wrestle his way out and escape, leaving most of his costume behind, and he kind of had to put it back on. And so he's in this area where you see where this sleeping gas chamber, which is large enough for the atrocity to go in. Of course, he has to bait him, and he has to do this 3 times. And Peter Parker says, when this is all over, I'm so gonna beat the crap out of you, Miguel. Like, Miguel says, ooh, I'm scared. Oh, look at me, I'm in my own timeline. You can't reach me, though. Of course, he wouldn't say that, but in his mind, he would. So, now that he finally got all the 3 DNA strands to get a good read, a combination fuse with Anti-Venom, Otto Octavius, and Walker Sloan. And Miguel O'Hara definitely finds a weakness, because these 3 are fused with quantum particles. Their weakness is high voltage. If we can reverse the polarity and send them back to the time gateway, it should return to normal, and everything will overwrite overwrite this all periods. It will be completely wiped out of its existence. All of it. In theory, it could work. Of course, the CEO had other ideas. Of course, the CEO who knows who Spider-Man 2099 is. Of course, he knows who the Spider-Man is, and he says Miguel's name. He knows he works for Alchemax. Of course, he wants to go creating the fabric of time by going back and to change his sins of the past by saving Uncle Ben, Gwen Stacy, and May Parker. And and Miguel O'Hara says, what, now you're playing God? Because he's going to do something like Back to the Future, like the second movie. But instead it'll have great consequence, and it's the stupidest idea that this CEO, Peter Parker's doing. It's not right. Miguel O'Hara strongly disagrees on this. So the CEO does not care of Miguel O'Hara's pleasures of his strong testimony. So he dumped them into the garbage chute, and because of that, there is one way to land, is to find his way back up, is to overload the power cells of the generators, or somehow overcharge them. We'll send them straight up, fly high, before back from out of this frying pan and into the fire. Back into the analysis lab he goes. So Miguel O'Hara is ready for round 2. And so Peter Parker and Miguel O'Hara knew what had to be done. They had to do something to stop the quantum causality, and it's getting stretched thinner and thinner, and it'll soon become irreparable if the things of the space-time continuum don't get fixed properly. And yes, a final showdown with the Atrocity and the CEO. And so he's going to clear up a giant, huge schedule for Miguel O'Hara's unwelcomed meeting visit. Put up a lot of countermeasures that is near his office. His office is at the very top floor of Alchemax. It's almost as high as Mount Everest. Yeah. I'm guessing Alchemax building is as high as Mount Everest. So now that his office is on the top, he is able to meet with Miguel O'Hara, but he's in a holographic form. Of course, he tried to make insults to the CEO by calling Peter Parker's name, but Peter Parker, as a younger citizen, says, "Hey dude, what the heck? What, aren't you trying to make fun of me? Are you trying to hurt my feelings?" Says, "No, I mean the CEO, I mean, of course," and like, it seems he's kind of wearing some type of spider armor, of course, and that sounds more like a crutch to me. If he relies on his heavily armor of power and strength, he would have relied on both speed and agility with the power and strength equally balanced. So, yeah, that's what he absolutely does if he wants to do. Because the CEO is telling that he is not the bad guy and he's trying to fix things, and he said the same thing over and over again. And I'll clear up my schedule. I'll meet you on the 66th floor. That he said, and Miguel O'Hara said, "A meeting at the 66th floor, really?" And he tells and Peter Parker says, What did the CEO say? He says, "Meeting at the 66th floor." I'm really started to hate that place. But, like you said, it began there, and it's going to end there. It began where it started, and it's going to end from where it started. The Time Gateway. And that is where it's going to end. Completely. Completely ending it all once and for all. And so, a battle with the CEO and a battle, Miguel O'Hara versus the CEO. Now, Spider-Man versus the Atrocity. It seems that the edge of time is starting to break itself apart. If they don't put the Atrocity back into the time rift and the CEO, since they're going to gather these quantum particles before the time portal collapses in a great rewrite, because the CEO is going to play a game of dice in the universe, and Einstein would approve. Well, guess what? Einstein isn't here, so I guess I'll have to do. So the CEO battlesuit, corrupted by his own brilliant invention. Peter Parker controls Alchemix, yep, all of this. The battlesuit, yep, his entire battlesuit. And the CEO exosuit. So he's relying on power and strength rather than speed and agility. Of course, he put it into the speed and agility, but he couldn't put it well balanced. He couldn't control the quantum particles itself, just as we figured. So, high voltage, of course, sending those tentacles straight into the fabric of Miguel's timeline would absolutely drain his powers, and that is a very interesting way when he fought Anti-Venom that was draining his powers because he's having the remembering setback of his younger self. If Spider-Man, the younger version, survives, that would be great, because the CEO's lifeline is connected with the younger version of Peter Parker's. Of course, he had to put the atrocity into it as much strength and power and speed and agility as he could. With all his might, Peter Parker punched the atrocity, high voltage, detentacleizing him, and yes, detentacleizing is a word, because everything what we say is to annoy you, Miguel, but you need to get used to it. And so for that, Peter Parker, enough to detentacleizing the atrocity, able to give a great match against the atrocity, and the atrocity is now a mismatch against Spider-Man. Spider-Man pushed the atrocity back into the time portal, and it is completely gone forever. Never existed, never showed up, no Walker Sloan, no Dr. Otto Octavius, no Anti-Venom, no Eddie Brock, gone forever. But that was one part of the door gateway that's closed off. Now the other part is Miguel O'Hara is to push the CEO into the time gate because the CEO has the gathering of the quantum particles. So for that, he pushed the CEO as much power as he could, just enough to weaken him. Of course, he has to watch out for the quantum particles he is shooting at. He is not completely nuts. He's completely insane. He wants to change everything retroactively, erasing off the fighting against Miguel, and still wants to create a rewrite of everything of the space reality of time and fabric. Completely. But not on Miguel's watch. He was able to outsmart him of his own thinking. It takes a genius to outsmart a genius. And the CEO was pushing and finally being pushed back. And now the entire timeline of the space reality or the space-time continuum is completely fixed and everything has been overwritten. The CEO does not exist. Is gone forever. Everything of its own timeline is completely back to normal with Miguel and Peter, and the chronolink is still linked to their own minds and completely having all the time in the world. And there's going to be like a 5 hour of quantum physics. All the time in the world, and they fight bad guys for free. And that is how it happened of Spider-Man Edge of Time, and these two superheroes have finally put the timeline back into place. Thanks to the efforts of Peter Parker and Miguel O'Hara, as both Spider-Men have done a job well, perfectly goodness. And I do believe that is the end of the story and info of Spider-Man Edge of Time. So So, what do you guys think of the game? Have you ever played it before, or you haven't seen it? Just check out my playlist of Spider-Man Edge of Time and find out, and you can watch it as many times as you like. And, yep. So, and don't forget to like, comment, favorite, and subscribe, and tell me, what do you guys think of Spider-Man Edge of Time? Do you like it or hate it? And mash that like button or share this video if you guys love Arkham Twin Days like this of the Spidey lore. This is Leo Wolverine saying and speaking as always as your sensational special being, and celebrating Autism Awareness Month for the entire month of April, wearing the colors red, yellow, and mostly blue in Leo's Let's Plays Alliance. Godspeed, play safe, and shalom. Remember, always fight with honor, love, truth, and justice. And see you guys next time for more of Arkham Twin Days.